My name is John Passfield, and the title of this reading will be Shakespeare and Cleopatra, Video 20, The Denied Boy. So this is my novel, Shakespeare and Cleopatra, My Life Is Not My Own. A mummy with two different color eyes, blue and brown, almost as if there's two people inside the mummy. So whatever story people in the future will get from the mummy might be told by two different people with two different viewpoints. Cleopatra's dead, hovering between life and the afterlife. By some strange process, she becomes aware that a playwright is telling her story. Who is this Shakespeare? What does he know about her? What kind of Cleopatra does he intend to create? He seems to be unaware of her presence, but perhaps if she talks to him as he writes, she can exercise some control over the story of a life that she fears is no longer her own. Well, Cleopatra's in the afterlife. She's dead. She's in a room with William Shakespeare. She comes to know his name, but nothing about him. She has no idea what kind of play he's writing. Will it be a travesty of her life? Will it mock her? Will it make her look ridiculous? She's very worried about this. I'm the writer of the novel. You're the reader of the novel. We both know that Shakespeare's writing Antony and Cleopatra. This is the play he's working on. He sits there through the whole novel, doesn't acknowledge that she's in the room, just keeps writing. She can look over his shoulder, see ink on the page, but has no idea what it says, what it's about. She talks to him, though. Maybe if I talk to him, even though he doesn't acknowledge me, maybe I can influence him to tell my story as I want it to be told, okay? So I'm going to hold up another book, so I won't have to hold it up while I'm reading my note. This is my journal. The making of my life is not my own. I wrote a journal while I was polishing the novel Shakespeare and Cleopatra, and you can read that for free if you access my website, johnpassfield.ca, and just click on that cover icon. That's just a manuscript. The book is on my website. I'll talk about it, and then I won't bother holding it up when I get to that point. In the poetic novel, the main character attempts to understand his or her life by the interlayering of events of that life with imagery which is drawn from other sources than their own experiences. At the end of this video reading, I will explain how you can have access to the journal that I wrote as I was polishing the rough draft of this novel. That's the book that I just held up. After I finish reading the poem of The Denied Boy, I will summarize one of the stories that I tell in that journal, The Making of Shakespeare and Cleopatra, which is how I thought of the idea that became the poem of The Denied Boy. But first, let me read the poem. So this is a poem that's interlayered with the thoughts of Cleopatra about her own life. She's trying to understand her own life by comparing it to other, in this case, fictional stories, as you and I would compare ourselves to the story of a novel or a film. So let's go to page 5 then for the first installment of this poem that runs through the mind of Cleopatra through 16 chapters of Cleopatra's thoughts. Page 5. The denied boy was in limbo. He dwelt in the land of every day. He felt himself to be in exile, far from his rightful place. Okay, then we go to page 12. A message from his wicked uncle. The king, your father, has died. To you, I send a message, a task for you to perform. Then to page 19. Do not take any water, no provisions of any kind. Cross the oblivious desert. Retrieve a forever stone. Then page 28. The denied boy set out on his journey across the everyday land. He did not take any provisions, nor water. No water did he imbibe. And then to page 36. The denied boy came to the edge of the oblivious desert. What do I do now? The sun beat down without mercy. The boy's tongue swelled in his mouth. 44. It is death to cross the desert. You would be foolish to even try. The desert swallows every traveler. The desert of oblivion is its name. 53. The denied boy was in limbo. He sat for days and days on the edge of the oblivious desert. That is what it is called by name. Then to 62. On the edge of the oblivious desert, the denied boy lay on the grass. He took no drink of water. The boy would surely die. From 62, we go to 72, 10 pages. Buzzards circled on the edge of the oblivious desert. The denied boy was lying on the ground. The watchful buzzards were waiting for the boy to perish. He would be a dead boy very soon. Then page 80. One day, an uplifting eagle asked the denied boy why he was so sad. I must cross the oblivious desert. I must retrieve a forever stone. Then 88. I can fly high with a weight on my back. I can fly above the sun. The desert heat will not deplete us. The lack of water will not be felt. 96. They landed on Restoring Oasis. At the Restoring Oasis, the denied boy and the uplifting eagle took a drink. They were only there a few minutes. The boy reached down and retrieved a forever stone. Then we go to 106. The evil uncle was incredulous. He had usurped the denied boy's rightful place. How did you cross the oblivious desert? Is that a forever stone? 114. The denied boy looked at his uncle. The wicked uncle looked at the boy. The uplifting eagle looked at them both. The eagle was perched on a nearby tree. 122. The wicked uncle shrunk in stature. The denied boy grew tall in size. The uncle began to fade away. The boy held the forever stone. And the last installment of this story, this poem in the mind of Cleopatra, is this. The wicked uncle disappeared. The uplifting eagle flew away. The denied boy sat in his rightful place. In his hand, he held the forever stone. So, in the novel, as she talks to the playwright William Shakespeare, who is sitting in a room and writing a play about her, Cleopatra reviews the events of her life. In order to get a better understanding of the events of her life, she interlayers the elements of two topics in the deeper levels of thought in her mind. Number one, the relationships that she had when she was alive, most notably with her family, with Julius Caesar and with Mark Antony. And number two, imagery which is drawn from a number of sources, which I include under the umbrella term of deepening imagery. So in this case, it's an example of deepening imagery. It's a fictional poem. I write my novels to form, F-O-R-M. So one of the forms within a form which I had in mind was that I would have the mind of Cleopatra interlayer two poems which draw on imaginary sources with information drawn from her own personal life. So she would interlayer her own personal life, details from that, with fictional details. When it came time to write the first poem, I waited for my subconscious creative mind to give me an idea, and nothing came. So I decided that my conscious creative mind had better get busy. I cast my mind back to a story which I'd read when I was a boy, and which I remember reading in what were then called classic comics. They were comic books, but they told stories of classical literature, and which I might have later read as a book. I might not have read as a book. All I can remember is the classic comic of this story. I can't remember reading the actual book. The original story is by Robert Louis Stevenson, and the title is Kidnapped. And about all I remember from the novel is that an evil uncle who wished to deny his nephew his fair share of the nephew's inheritance from his father sent the nephew climbing up an old tower on a dark and windy night, with the uncle knowing that the stairs on which the boy was climbing would abruptly end, so the boy would tumble over into the darkness and fall to his death. That was all I needed to imagine the basic elements of the poem which became The Denied Boy. As I thought of the story, the elements fell into place. The uncle, the boy, the required stone, the lack of water, the desert, the eagle, the oasis, and so on. As I wrote the story, each of these elements acquired an epithet. The wicked uncle, the denied boy, the forever stone, the oblivious desert, and so on. I often say in my planning notebooks and journals that there's never a blank page, as since I write to form, F-O-R-M, form, I always have something on the page when it comes time to write a certain image arc for the novel or novella on which I'm working. In this case, even though I didn't have an idea at first, I did have the title Poem 1 on the page, and even though my subconscious creative mind wasn't very active that day, my conscious creative mind went on from there. So, this is my novel, Shakespeare and Cleopatra, My Life Is Not My Own. It's found on Amazon, where there's information. It's found on my publisher's website, roxmillspress.com, where there's more information as well. And lastly, there are 2 free books, my planning notebook and my journal, the journal I held up earlier in this reading. Both of them are available for free on my website, johnpassfield.ca. You just go to the website, click on the covers, and the 2 books, one at a time, of course, will appear on the screen. And you can read my notes about the novel, Shakespeare and Cleopatra. And lastly, thank you for watching this video.